Good morning. I don't know if you can tell, but I have not shaved yet today, and that was actually intentional. It was to be today that 7 other people and myself were to get on an airplane and fly to Israel for a pilgrimage to Israel. Of course, COVID-19 had other plans for us, but I decided this week that we might want to take a virtual pilgrimage to Israel together. I want to share with you some of the sights and sounds of Israel, but much more importantly, I want us to think about some of the theological significance to that wonderful place. But when you travel that far, of course, and most of the time, the way you do that is you get on a plane and you travel overnight on the plane. And if you're like me, when you arrive after having changed planes in another country and then finally made it to Tel Aviv, you're going to be pretty unshaven, you're going to be pretty bleary-eyed after all of that travel, and that is the case for most travelers. You do, if you go to Israel, land in Tel Aviv, and then you will board a bus to take you to wherever your first destination will be. I was in Israel back in 2009, and our first destination was Tiberias, up on the Sea of Galilee. And so we rode a bus, got to Israel, I guess sometime in the afternoon, rode a bus, roughly the same amount of time and distance as it would be from going from Chattanooga to Knoxville, an hour and a half or so. Got to Tiberias. We were staying in a beautiful Scottish hotel owned by the Scottish Church, and we all had a nice dinner that evening, and then we're told, go to sleep, see if you can sleep, try to keep your regular sleep pattern so you can get your body adjusted to the jet lag and all that kind of thing. And I woke up, though, pretty early the next morning, which isn't all that unusual for me, and went out and was able to see my very first sunrise over the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is a fairly small sea. It is about 13 miles wide or long and about 8 miles wide at its widest. Compare that to some of the other oceans and seas. The Pacific Ocean, the mighty Pacific, huge, largest ocean in the world, deepest body of water in the world. The Nile River, the longest river in the world. The Amazon River, which carries 20% of the world's fresh water. And then you have the tiny little Sea of Galilee. A tiny little body of water in a tiny little seemingly unimportant country, and yet look how God used that sea, particularly during the time of Jesus. Jesus called many of his disciples on the Sea of Galilee. He preached in the synagogues that were just a stone's throw from the Sea of Galilee. He even preached from the Sea of Galilee from Peter's boat. He helped the disciples catch miraculous catches of fish while telling them that now he wanted them to fish for people. When the people gathered on the mountainside to hear that wonderful Sermon on the Mount that should guide all of our lives, they were likely looking out over the Sea of Galilee. Jesus' back probably would have been to the sea as he was speaking up into this natural amphitheater that looked out over the sea. John even ends his gospel on the Sea of Galilee, but not before Jesus calms the storms on the sea and even walks on the Sea of Galilee. All of the ways that God used that tiny body of water for powerful, theological, good news reasons. And it's a reminder to me that when we feel small or unimportant, thinking about John F. Kennedy and the plaque he had on his boat, "Oh God, be with me because the sea is so wide and my boat is so small." We feel that way sometimes. And yet we are reminded from the Sea of Galilee that God wants to do and plans to do great things through us, even though we may not think that we are all of that important. When we act in ways that are acts of kindness or mercy or love, we are changing lives. We are doing the very things that carpenter who loved the sea so much taught us to do, and we're helping people to find their way to him. And so on this day, as we contemplate the smallness of the Sea of Galilee and yet the great way that it looms in our spiritual history, let us also recognize the ways that God calls us, ordinary people, to do great things for him. God is with us. Amen.